Hello and welcome. I am Josh Widdicombe. For today, I'm the curator of a place of incredible artefacts and exhibitions, a place that stores the greatest thing on earth. This is my Museum of Pop Culture. As a self-confessed pop culture obsessive, I love the geniuses, the scam artists, and dare I say it, the absolute madmen that have made the records, shows and films that we love. In each series, I will tell you a story of unlikely triumph and usually an enjoyably crushing failure, featuring celebrated stars that in any other industry would probably be politely sacked. It's a show for people more interested in David Hasselhoff than David Lammy, Elizabeth Taylor than Queen Elizabeth I, which, let's be honest, is all of us. Today, I'm joined by comedian and my friend Matthew Crosby to discuss the incredible story of Stock Aitken and Waterman's Hit Factory record label.
Apple Computer will introduce Macintosh.
Just say no.
Bird's eye potato waffles.
Fantastic!
Maradona had continued the run forward, or was it a use of the hand?
Earlier on today, apparently a woman rang the BBC and said she heard that there was a hurricane on the way. Well, if you're watching, don't worry, there isn't.
In the heart of 1980s Britain, Margaret Thatcher and the Conservative Party are reshaping the map of British society.
The ladies not for turning.
And due to her, Britain is booming, or an absolute wasteland, depending on your viewpoint. Either way, pop culture is changing.
Welcome to MTV Music Television.
And from a studio in southeast London, three men are hatching a plan that will change the landscape of pop music forever.
Seated behind the mixing desk at their South London recording studio, the team of Saw, that's Stock, Aitken and Waterman, doodle around while listening to some demo tapes.
They are Stock, Aitken and Waterman, and they will become nicknamed the Hit Factory, for obvious reasons.
Best British record producer 1988, Stock, Aitken and Waterman.
Over 100 top 40 hits, 13 UK number one singles, an incredible 500 million units sold. This is a story of how they took the nation's favourite neighbour and turned her from girl next door to global superstar.
One of the big stars of Neighbours is the lady who plays the part of Charlene. Her name is Kylie Minogue.
Turned an unknown office tea boy into the world's most renowned pop superstar.
Prince number one, Rick Astley.
With the creative force behind iconic chart-topping hits for Bananarama, Mel and Kim, Donna Summer, Sanita, Dead or Alive and Jason Donovan. And as always, when money and ego are involved, we are heading for disaster. As you'd hope with any good story. Musical geniuses or cynical hitmakers. Or both. There's only one way to find out. Matthew Crosby, hello.
How you doing, man?
I'm good. I've chosen you to hear about Stock Aitken and Waterman because I think you're the perfect person in terms of you're interested in it.
Definitely.
But I've got a feeling you're probably not a fan.
That's very astute of you. When I knew I was going to come and do this podcast with you, I listened to Stock Aitken and Waterman Gold and I struggled. It's very nostalgic. It reminds it places me in a time.
Yeah.
And actually, when I was a little kid, I was buying those 7 inches.
Yeah.
But then as soon as I think probably heard about David Bowie, I was like, forget about it.
Because that he was buying them as well?
Yeah, that's right. He was always on eBay outbidding me.
I suppose what's quite nice is to get your view of them now, which is, and then I'll see if it's changed at the end of the 4-episode journey I'm going to take you on, which is basically the rise and fall of Stock Aitken and Waterman. I'd say the rise is bigger than the fall, but we'll get there.
Okay.
So what do you think if I say Pete Waterman to you now?
Now, I have a skewed version of what Pete Waterman is like in my head, in that I always thought that he was the man who the Spice Girls were singing about. Zigga Zigga. You know, Mel B eventually came out and explained what Zigga Zigga meant.
I didn't know that.
Okay, well, she said when they were recording their first few songs, there was a sort of 80s record producer
Yeah.
who used to smoke sort of noxious cigars and also do some quite noxious toilets. And so his nickname became Shit and Cigar.
Oh, wow.
And the Shit and Cigar sort of morphed into Zigga Cigar.
Oh, wow.
And then they put it into Wannabe. I don't know why they would have wanted to put...
Yeah, but why not?
In my head, it was Pete Waterman because he was famous for chomping on cigars. And when I used to work in County Hall, he had his studios there.
Really?
And I'd often see him.
He'd go to the toilet.
I know. Luckily, I only saw the cigar part of the equation, but he would often be out on the piazza outside County Hall.
Oh, wow.
Puffing away on a big cigar. So I thought, well, who's like an 80s kind of?
And so was it him?
I don't think I can find no corroboration that was the case. So I want to say that now. But in my head, I'd always had the association of him being someone who was mean to the Spice Girls and did noxious poos.
Okay, well, neither of those things will come up. Okay. Although he does get quite bitter in his old age about modern music.
Sure.
I think let's sum up Pete Waterman at the start, if people don't know who he is. So Stock, Aitken and Waterman, we will come to, is a triumvirate of kind of songwriters and producers, the most famous of which is Pete Waterman. And so we're going to start this episode with Pete Waterman, and then he'll be joined by Stock and Aitken later on.
Yeah, I'm struggling to remember, because I know it's Pete Waterman.
Mike Stock and Matt Aitken.
Mike and Matt, of course.
Yeah. I'll just sum up Pete Waterman with a few facts. His autobiography, released in 2000, was called I Wish I Was Me.
There's a lot going... That's deep.
There's a lot there.
There's a lot going on. Because don't we all wish we were the version that people perceive of us?
Oh, do you think that's more... I see what you mean. Yeah, I hadn't even thought.
Maybe I'm putting that through a therapy lens.
Yeah. Because I thought it was simply, my life is so good.
That I'm jealous of myself.
You
know what? I think that probably is it.
But you're thinking it's, I can't be me.
I can't be the man you think I am. No man can. Because my reputation is so great. But I think you're right.
Yeah, because I'd say, as we go on this journey, you'll find that Pete Waterman is very much himself.
He's drunk his own Kool-Aid.
His luxury item on Desert Island Discs
was himself.
No, this is a quote. It's a twist, this one. I want to take a woman's prerogative, which is, well, I could change my mind when I get there.
Okay. He's overthought that,
I'd say it's not as good as he thinks it is.
No, it's not as good as a mini fridge. No.
Last TV show you saw, he was once asked, I only turn on the telly if I know the Top Cat is on.
As in?
Top Cat.
Top Cat,
yeah,
also known as Boss Cat.
It has never dated.
Wow.
Not my words, his words.
I wonder what he feels about Bilko, because it was based on Bilko. It's a bit like being more into 8 out of 10 Cats Does Countdown.
Where everyone is.
Which I guess is true.
This is 100% true. So those three things, you're thinking doofus.
Yeah.
He has had more number one singles than the Beatles and Elvis.
Oh, hello, come on in. Welcome to the Hit Factory in London. This is where a host of stars come every week to make their records. And for the last 3 years, a record from this building has been in the top 40 every single week.
So Pete was born, he's a kind of post-war baby, 1947, poor working class family in Coventry. He went to school at the age of 7.5.
Oh, really? And delayed it a bit.
Yeah, I don't think it was like posh people these days that say my kid was born in July, so I'm going to take it. I don't think it was.
He wasn't cooking the books.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, okay.
He went to school at 7.5, and there were 63 children in his class.
That's too many. And immediately he looked at them and went, right, okay, I like you two. You two be a good duo together. You three are a band, you're a solo artist. Because they talk about the optimum size, don't they? That where, like, you know, a classroom should be a certain size. But I
think 30 these days is considered the top, isn't it?
I think 30 is it. But who knows? Maybe 63. They were all just perfectly well behaved. Maybe 63 was the sweet spot, but there aren't classrooms big enough.
Was before a teaching assistant.
Oh, yeah. But it would be in the time of the cane.
Yeah, the ultimate teaching assistant.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nature's teaching assistant.
A birch.
He didn't pick up a pen until he was 11, and he couldn't read and write until his 40s.
Until his 40s?
So almost at the pomp of Stock, Aitken and Waterman is when he learns to read and write. Isn't that mad?
That's unbelievable. So he's a lyricist before he's able to literally write these lyrics down.
I don't know if he is a lyricist. We'll come to that.
Okay.
That would just swiftly become my catchphrase.
Is that the name of the podcast?
Yeah, we'll come to that.
We'll come to that with Josh Widdicombe.
There was no... So this is his quote on it. This is why he didn't learn to read or write. There was no interest for me at all. I just found it dreary, boring. We had no paper to write on and no ink. We had a teacher called Mrs. Beasley and we used to have to write in the air. How could you tell if it was a P or an F? No way. It was impossible. So basically they were trying to teach 63 kids to write without paper or pen.
But
in post-war Coventry.
He went on to be one of the premier skywriters of all time. You get him inside a little plane. Oh, honestly. He can write you happy birthday in the sky.
So he can't write.
He can't write.
Until his mid-40s. So basically he comes out of school at the age of 14. He always has ways of making money. And this initially starts through music. He's obsessed with music. And he starts charging. I don't really understand what happens here because this must be a thing that's now been dropped from weddings. But he starts charging best men to choose songs for them at weddings. So presumably in these days, in Coventry in the 50s, best men were in charge of the music at weddings.
Oh, okay. It wasn't like best men had to end on a song. Because a best man speech is nerve-wracking enough without
doing my way.
So you get you to hear everything at the end of it.
So he'd knock out 4 weddings in a day, choosing the songs for best men.
Wow.
And he used that money to start building a record collection.
Great.
And then he left school at 14 and he worked for British Railways. And Pete Waterman's main passion in life is railways.
Yes, he's got a massive model railway set, hasn't he?
Yeah. He says about British Railways, I still regret in every way other than financial that I didn't follow it up with a railway career. So he prefers railways to music, but he's obviously absolutely loaded.
Yeah, of course.
His love of trains, we won't go too deeply into it because it's quite dry. He basically lived 50 yards from a railway where coal trains went to a colliery all night. So he was into them from the off.
That's going to send you one of 2 ways, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I live next to a railway, but it doesn't make me want to, become a boxcar jumping home.
No. His quote on trains, whereas many people in the music industry get their kicks from cocaine, I only have to go off and look at a train I haven't seen before to get me excited.
I love that.
Yeah, it is nice, isn't it?
I think that's very wholesome. I like that a lot. Yeah, I appreciate that.
He takes cocaine once in his life. You can stop me at any time during the 4 episodes. I'll tell you at the end at which point Pete Waterman has taken cocaine.
That's going to be the Easter egg, is it?
Well,
at the end of it,
I hadn't planned that. But
at any point, I can say,
I think play your cocaine card.
Okay, all right. I can play my cocaine card. Great.
Yeah. But in the 80s, he basically, when he's in his pomp, he has a 214-foot replica of Acton Railway Junction in his barn behind his house.
That's so... If you look at, there are going to be people who took a lot of drugs in the 80s. They've got nothing to show for it.
Exactly.
He's got something to show for it.
Well, his most treasured possession, he says, is his train set.
And he's not bringing that to his desert island.
He's not bringing that to his desert island, no.
Lunatic.
He's bringing a woman's prerogative.
Bringing a woman's prerogative.
He can change his mind and bring his train set. That's a woman's prerogative.
An answer I still only vaguely have a grasp on what it means.
I hope... Who was the host in those days? I just don't know what I'd do with that.
Was that Kirsty Walk? Was it?
I'd imagine it was earlier than that. He does say that his train set is bigger than Rod Stewart's. And he adds that Rod's is nothing to be ashamed of. So don't go around.
No.
Don't throw around that Rod Stewart's got a shameful train set.
No shade on Rod Stewart.
No.
It just so happens that his is bigger.
Yeah, exactly.
Rod, of course, managed to also have a very successful cocaine career as well.
Exactly,
so
that's a mistake.
With Rod, get a guy who can do both.
So, Pete Waterman moves into music after, in 1962, he spends 2 hours as a gravedigger. Which is one of those facts that promotes kind of... The image of what happened is probably better than what happened.
Yeah. How many graves do you think you're doing in 2 hours? Presumably just
you're
one.
probably doing one.
You're only doing one in 2 hours.
If it's 6 foot deep, I don't think you're doing that in 2 hours.
You're working with another person, though, aren't you? Aren't there always 2 gravediggers, or am I just thinking of...
it feels that way, doesn't it?
Just thinking of Hamlet.
No, I think there is 2 gravediggers. I don't think me and you could dig a grave 6 feet in 2 hours.
No, I don't think we could. It's just the sheer grunt work of doing...
Exactly.
We both look after ourselves, but 2 hours of solid digging, that's a lot. That's
he
a lot
made
of
the
cardio,
right decision.
A lot of hits.
Exactly. He'd have been in good shape, and he does actually... Later on, you'll find that he does take on a manual labour job to keep in shape. But he does grave digging, gets a job at General Electrical Company, but his love is music, right? Of course. And basically he's got a massive eclectic record collection. So he starts doing discos.
Great. Is this in his hometown of Coventry, in and around?
Well,
the
Smethwick is the Midlands, isn't it?
Yeah.
So he says that after leaving school, he got work as a DJ at Smethwick Baths, which I'm presuming is the name of a nightclub and not
the
swimming pool.
I mean,
he'd be spinning records, but every 45 minutes he'd say, "Anyone with a red band, come on in now."
Are we to assume that like there's less music happening in modern life than there used to be? Because you're doing a best man speech, there's music for that. You're going for a swim, there's music for that.
Well, I suppose the advent of, Spotify and other streaming platforms has meant that, you can have music when you want, so you don't need it played to you while you're having a swim.
That's true. That's very
But anyway, he doesn't actually get the job at Smethwick Bars.
Oh.
He gets some work at Smethwick Bars, and then when he turns up, the manager says, "No dice, you're not getting in here." When I asked him why, he said, "You're a big fat git, now piss off."
Whoa, he was body shamed.
So he takes it on board. He says, "After that, I lost weight, shaved off my beard. I took it as constructive criticism." It's a different time, Matthew.
Yeah.
I'm not saying the manager of Smethwick Baths
was right.
It was right, but
No.
I think it shows that Pete Waterman is a man who's willing to adapt to popular tastes at any whim.
He's willing to make that change.
That's populism for you.
Yeah.
So in 1973, he decided he needs a bit more musical education. So he heads to the US of A. He goes to Philadelphia.
Because he's a big Motown Philly fan,
Exactly.
isn't he? Big Motown
and
Philly.
he thinks the original Motown Detroit is dead. So he goes to Philadelphia on a month-long trip to research a book on R&B. Can you spot any issues there? I'll remind you, he can't write.
Ah, yes, that would be it. Yeah. so it would be a book. It would be a book he'd have to write in the air.
It'd be a book he's written in the air.
There's him. He's lying on his back, looking up at that big Philadelphia sky, writing the entire book.
Writing the history of R&B with his finger.
Hoping there's some publisher who also happens to be educated in a class of 63 who can read it for him.
Yes, he can't read and write, but he's gone to Philadelphia.
So he just basically wants to do it's a jolly for him, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or do you think he actually has aspirations to... Is that also part of it? He's taking himself to Philadelphia?
No, I don't think so. I think he's interested. He goes to watch Richard Pryor.
Oh, wow, amazing.
And he sits sunburnt, front row centre.
Of course.
And he's the only white man. and
I bet
he is...
Richard Pryor had a field day.
In the words of Pete in his autobiography, he is ripped apart by Richard Pryor.
Roasted by the sun, roasted by Pryor.
Well, the sunburn is because he's been lying on his back writing in the air, presumably. Get some factor 50 on when you're typing, Pete.
Oh, that's right. He'd moved to typing, hadn't he? Because he started off just using a finger to write freehand, and now he's just delicately... He'd learned to touch type by that stage in the air, but not with a typewriter.
So 1973, comes back.
Great.
And he joins Magnet Records as an A&R assistant, working for Michael Levy, I think, and who later becomes Lord Levy, who's one of Tony Blair's big pals.
Yeah.
One of the big new Labourites.
Okay.
Lord Levy. But for now, he's the head of A&R. And Pete signs Donna Summer.
Wow.
And Chris Rea.
Wow.
So he's already got the eye.
Yeah. He can spot a tune.
And also, he meets Michael. It's like a real clash of cultures, because Pete's the guy who can't write from Coventry, and Michael, soon to be Lord Levy. And Pete recalls of their first meeting, he sat me in his office with smoked salmon sandwiches. It's the first time I'd ever had one of those in my life.
I guess that would have been the case, sort of growing up in the 60s and 70s. All of these things would have been coming in. They would be very much the lifestyle of somebody who had a bit of money, social standing.
Exactly. And I think when you imagine Pete Waterman, you imagine him in the 80s with a cigar, possibly having a heinous shit near the Spice Girls.
Absolutely, yeah. Doing one line of cocaine.
At some point. Have we come to it? We haven't come to it yet.
It'd be mad if it was like, I had a smoked salmon sandwich and a line of cocaine.
Didn't like it.
Neither of these things are for me.
To be honest, I couldn't eat the smoked salmon sandwich.
I got it in the wrong order.
But he is like a working class post-war baby. 1947 he was born. He's the same generation really as the Beatles.
Yes, yeah.
He is, and if you imagine them from their childhoods from a completely different time. Would I say the story of Pete Waterman sums up post-war Britain in one man? You know.
Maybe.
I haven't written it down, but I'm not saying no now.
Yeah.
So he has to go around, drive across the UK to promote records. Small problem. Hasn't got a driving licence, but he still does it.
He's never been a man who's let his shortcomings hold him back.
No. Do you know what?
He either shaves off the beard and loses weight, or he just goes, well, I'll just pretend I can read and write.
I pretend
I can drive.
Yeah.
How hard can it be?
But there is that kind of... You read these things about these kind of entrepreneurs and they just go for it. Do you know what I mean?
I imagine he felt a similar thing when he bought his first drum machine.
Yeah.
I don't know how to drive this thing, but I'll do my best.
Exactly. The only thing I really know I can't do is dig graves. That, he was like, I'm out. This is one thing I've pretended I could do too much. So through all the promotional work he does, he signs Donna Summer as well and everything. Billboard know Pete Waterman, call him the king of disco at this point.
That's insane. How does Nile Rodgers feel?
I know, some white bloke from from Coventry. They wouldn't even get in at Smethwick bars, is known as the king of disco. And he obviously heads to Studio 54.
You've got to.
It's 3 in the morning in Manhattan, and still at Studio 54, people crowd the doors, hoping to get in. But first, they have to do something even harder than finding a place to park here, and that's to win the approval of the owner, 28-year-old Steve Rubel.
Oh, you're not shaved? There's no way anyone else are going to get in. It doesn't matter if you're not shaved. Listen, just go home.
Most people don't make it, but that doesn't stop them turning up night after night to take part in this slightly absurd ritual in which dignity matters much less than being able to boast later you actually got inside.
Are you aware of much about Studio 54?
Studio 54, I think of Andy Warhol, very hip nightclub.
Yeah, and it's a hip nightclub in the 70s in New York where everyone goes.
Yes.
I'd say, if you want one fact, Bianca Jagger on her birthday at Studio 54, she rode a white horse around the dance floor.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's exactly the sort of kind of 1970s opulence you like to see. It doesn't happen nowadays.
Well, I worked with someone she worked in costume.
Oh, yeah.
But she had done the costume for I Want to Break Free by Queen, right?
So she dragged them all up. Amazing.
Yeah. She'd been to Studio 54 in the 70s. And she said that Grace Jones turned up with a cheetah, I think, with a big cat.
A big cat on a leash,
presumably on a leash. Yeah.
Didn't just release it in. She wasn't just trying to get out of paying a bar bill. And I'll just launch a puma.
It was actually a terrorist attack. Do you want to know what Pete Waterman did at Studio 54?
Did he go? Presumably, he's got to ride on something. Did he ride a giraffe or something like that? Did he do that?
Him and Chris Hill. I don't know who Chris Hill is, but he's part of the story. Let's name and shame. They went down to Studio 54 naked, except for socks on their dicks.
So they were the ones who did it before Anthony Kiedis and Flea and the rest of the Red Hot Chili Peppers. They went down and is that? I don't know. Is that in the same sort of league as showing up with the cheetah?
No, and I think there's a difference also in Bianca Jagger and two blokes that no one knows.
Two blokes from the Midlands.
Two blokes. I don't know who Chris Hill is. I've researched this. I don't even know who Chris Hill is, let alone if you're at Studio 54 off your face on cocaine.
So we've got a man, Pete Waterman, a man we know he's lost a little bit of weight.
Yeah,
he's in the shape of his life.
Hopefully he's in the new socks.
You'd assume he'd been to Macy's that day and got a fresh pair of tube socks. I don't think, because it's not even in the sort of fetish world.
No,
it's not even in that sort of thing. You look like somebody who is on a stag do.
Yeah,
and it's gone a bit wrong. Did he also shave his eyebrows off as well?
I also think there's an interesting... I mean, if I was to meet Pete Waterman, it'd be weird to drill him on this point, but this would be mainly, I'd say, grave digging, and then I'd say, how did you get to Studio 54? What were you wearing on the underground?
We're talking New York in the 70s. Yeah. It's not the friendly, everybody waves to you.
You go... Quite now you could obviously walk around Central Park with a sock on your cock.
You could stroll around like that and people would just assume it's rag week or something.
Yeah.
But no, there's you'd be stabbed, wouldn't you?
Yeah. So that's the peak of Waterman as the king of disco. Then he quits music. He quits music after 2.5 years because he's become disillusioned. Bear in mind where we're going with this story, with the industry's blind commercialism.
So he hung up his sock.
He hung up his sock. He said he was overweight, he had no friends, so he left and did a summer of hard graft in a concrete factory.
Oh, wow.
It's quite...
I find that, again, I also find that quite inspirational.
So do I. He's just gone, this is bollocks. Like, I'm kind of...
I want to work with my hands.
Yeah, I'm kind of in this commercial world. I've got no mates. I'm just kind of doing what I don't want to be doing. I'm just going to go back to Coventry and work in a concrete factory for the summer. Whilst back in Coventry, his mate who runs a record shop says, check out this new Coventry band called the Automatics. They're a punk ska band. Pete manages them.
Oh, yeah.
Tries to get them signed. Can't get them signed. The relationship breaks down. They go on to be the Specials.
Specials, of course.
Isn't that amazing?
That's amazing.
Pete Waterman briefly managed the Specials and couldn't get them signed.
So he had a little kind of...
While he was working in a concrete factory.
A little brush with... I wonder if maybe the concrete factory was holding him back. Because if you meet a band, they say, oh, this is our manager, you may recognise him from the concrete factory. Okay. Well,
why is his face grey?
Well, it's Coventry in the 70s. Everyone's face is grey. I don't think that would make him necessarily stand out.
He gets then a column.
That was the original lyric of Ghost Town, wasn't it?
It was about Pete Waterman coming out of the concrete factory.
It wasn't all the shops. It was this concrete factory has been closed down.
He then gets a column in Record Business magazine.
Okay.
Under the pen name Disco Duck.
Disco Duck.
Can you see any issues with Pete Waterman having a column in a magazine?
Well, he can't read.
He can't
read all right. He is the definition of a frustrated writer. He doesn't have any paper, he doesn't own a pen, and if you gave him those two things, he'd be all at sea.
I presume he's dictating it down the phone like a kind of football match report in those days, or A.A. Gill, who's incredibly dyslexic.
Yes.
Used to just dictate his columns down the phone.
I find that mad. So he's it's just flowing out of him. He's not editing or re-editing.
I think he'd write it down, but he'd go that they can't, you can't submit this. So he'd dictate it down the phone. This is a bit of a diversion, but I read him say this. And he said, he'd make his writing as caustic and harsh as possible, because what he really wanted to do was make the woman, who was always on the other end the same person, as he laugh as much as possible. So
right,
that was kind of his way of doing it.
With A.A. Gill, that story could have gone one or two ways. I guess that's a good thing. It's you're always thinking of your immediate audience.
Exactly. And Pete Waterman, as Disco Duck, was doing that.
He was and never stopped thinking about the audience.
Never stops thinking about the audience.
That's Pete Waterman.
There's a quote from Mike Stock about the audience, which we will come to.
Can't wait. There's so many little cliffhangers and teasers.
Do you know what the problem is, right? Because I've been immersed in the world of Pete Waterman, I've got so many things I want to tell you about it. But
listen, I've got all the time in the world.
We just got to go chronologically.
Let's do it chronologically. That's the best system.
Okay. He gets a job at MCA, which is a record label, big record label.
Yeah.
Creates hits for Nick Kershaw, Tracy Ullman, and most interestingly, a group who I'm sure you're aware of, and I'll ask you to describe, Musical Youth.
So Musical Youth did Pass the Dutchie.
Yeah.
To the left-hand side.
Yeah.
Were they a school project?
So they were a group of teenagers.
Yeah.
And they did a song called Pass the Dutchie, which was originally called Pass the Coochie, which is weed.
Right.
Dutchie is a cooking pot.
Ah, but it was I always assumed it was supposed to be about...
Yeah, so my mum briefly was a runner on Blue Peter around this time when Musical Youth were on it. And she was dispatched to the market to buy a cooking pot for their for their performance on Blue Peter.
And they were looking at going, what are we supposed to do with this?
Yeah.
What's this?
Yeah, because basically just to hammer home, this isn't about drugs.
A drugs reference.
This isn't a drugs. We've got the pot here.
Yeah.
It was a bit like a kind of apprentice task where you're sent out to buy a Dutchie.
And it would have been like an apprentice task in that she's not allowed to use a smartphone because they wouldn't have been invented.
The pop chart has a new number one this week. The record Pass the Dutchie by Musical Youth has shot from number 26 to the top slot. The most surprising thing about the group of 5 Birmingham boys is that the youngest is only 11 and the oldest 14. One day last week, their record sold 102,000 copies. The five boys learnt to play at the Saltley Workshop in Birmingham, a project set up by a community arts group. The band, all from Duddeston Manor School in Birmingham, plan a nationwide tour in October, and this is a sample of what the audiences will hear.
So they were really young. They were the first black bands to ever have a video on MTV.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. 'Cause that was a huge problem of MTV in the early days. David Bowie was one of the first people to sort of pick them up on it when he was interviewed by MTV. There's that clip that keeps going back around on social media of him saying, why do you never play black artists?
I'd like to ask you something. All right. It occurred to me, having watched MTV over the last few months, that it's a solid enterprise and it's got a lot going for it. I'm just floored by the fact that there's so few black artists featured on it. Why is that?
I think that we're trying to move in that direction. We want to play artists that seem to be doing music that fits into what we want to play for MTV. The company is thinking in terms of narrow casting.
That's evident. It's evident in the fact that the only few black artists that one does see are on about 2:30 in the morning or to around 6. Very few are featured predominantly during the day.
No,
I'll say that over the last couple of weeks these things have been changing, but it's a slow process.
Yeah, so Pete Waterman's Musical Youth are the first people to ever be played as a black band on MTV. Basically, they're incredibly young, and then they have this hit, and then they disappear and they go back to school. So there's two quotes that kind of sum it up. Dennis Seaton, who was the singer of Musical Youth, said the song went to number 1, sold 5 million copies worldwide. Wow. After it reached top 10 in America, we went to Michael Jackson's house. We made a film with Mr. T in Hollywood. We were the first black band to be interviewed in MTV. In a way, it was a relief to get back to school and restore some normality.
They needed their own concrete factory.
Exactly.
Basically, everybody needs a concrete factory.
Exactly. It's them going, it is like, I don't really, I don't belong. I've had a taste of this. This is weird. Michael Grant, keyboard, said, back then I was too young to buy cars and houses. All I wanted was a BMX super burner bike. When the record company dropped me, I asked the accountant, does this mean I'll have to sell my bike? He told me, no, you can keep the bike.
Oh, that's heartbreaking.
But he got to keep the bike.
He got to keep the bike, but I mean, imagine being forced to grow up that fast.
Yeah.
Where you're at school and you're thinking, I don't know, I had no concept of money when I was...
Yeah.
When I was growing up, thinking, oh, my finances are in disarray, what am I going to do?
Would you have wanted that? If I offered you, from the ages of 13 to 15, you're a megastar, would that be a nice thing to happen to you, or do you think it would be difficult to process?
I'm looking at child stars of the past and thinking the track record isn't great.
Yeah, you'd rather be Kieran than Macaulay Culkin.
I think so, yeah. Although Kieran was a child actor, wasn't he? He was working for a long time, but not a child star. He wasn't hosting Saturday Night Live at the age of 10 or whatever.
Yeah.
I think if you're a Macaulay Culkin, you're a Mason Reeves. The only thing you can do is stay famous.
Yeah.
Like Ariana Grande. Just never not be famous. Although I imagine she's under quite a lot of pressure as well. I don't think she's kicking back and going, well, I've done it now, I can relax.
Just so you know, if you want a nice life, you've just got to remain famous forever. So no pressure. Just remain famous forever. Otherwise, it will all fall apart and you will hate the world. Just chill out and remain famous.
You'll lose all your friends. You'll lose the massive house you live in. Yeah. No one will want to talk to you, and you'll be seen as a sort of international joke.
Yeah, but apart from that.
So just to avoid that, just constantly be making successful projects, okay? So make sure all your films are successful, all your records sell loads of copies. That's all, Ariana, it's really, really simple. It's, just be a success.
And you can keep the BMX.
Yeah, you never have to sell your BMX.
So that's a success. Waterman's now cooking on gas a bit. 1983, Steven Spielberg tries to get him to work for him.
Wow.
Offers him £250,000, which is a lot of money now, is an incredible amount of money in 1983, to run a company out of London to bring acts and music for a soundtrack. It's a no from Waterman.
What's the company for a sound?
So he's like, can you get me bands and songs for my soundtracks?
Oh, okay, for soundtracks.
Because
you've got
great ears, basically.
Yeah. So could you put together the soundtrack to E.T. or Close Encounters or that sort of thing? Okay.
And then in 1984, so Pete turns him down.
Yeah.
Pete flies back to London. He's had enough of LA. He's been in LA doing Musical Youth, and the Spielberg thing falls through. Gets an office at Stiff Records, and he says, the phones were dead. I didn't have a plan. Enter Mike Stock.
I love it.
Yeah.
This
Why
is
not?
great, isn't it?
It's so good, isn't it?
It's great when there's somebody who their name is so synonymous with your name that as soon as they arrive on the scene, you're like, now the story can begin.
Exactly. Although, let's be honest, by this point, Pete Waterman has lived a life. Like, he's already a weird, interesting bloke. And actually, you can see so many of the things that then he takes on already in his personality. And they're all, you know, he's got that love of music, but he's also got this weird can-do attitude. He's also absolutely, I'm going to do things my way. I don't care. I'm going to work in a concrete factory. I'm going to say no to Steven Spielberg. And I kind of love him.
He's his own man.
Yeah, I love Pete Waterman at this point.
Okay.
If anything, I shouldn't have led with the women's prerogative thing, because that's the only bad thing that...
He made one naff joke, and you're really holding it over his head for his entire career.
Mike Stock, born 1951, 4 years after Waterman, in Margate. He's kind of lower middle class, one of 5 children. Not as interesting as Pete Waterman, 63 kids in a class. He teaches himself guitar and piano. Can't read music.
Can read?
Can read, but can't read music.
So he's got that going for him.
Yeah. Oh, Pete Waterman can read music. No, I don't know. 1969, age 18, the height of kind of the 60s. Mm-hmm. He takes a gap year, intending to travel around the world, meets a girl in Holland, stays put. I'm going to call it Amsterdam because what do you reckon that his job was? It's awful. He had to sweep up in the pornographic cinema after each film.
Yeah, you see, I was hoping it was going to be tulip picking or he maintained a windmill, but no, it's obviously, it's the red light district, isn't it?
And sweeping up after the film is absolutely...
Also, I wouldn't... A broom? Is that the right thing to be using? I'd say mopping up, surely. Surely.
He then goes back to home. He goes to university in Hull, where he forms a band. I won't make you guess this. With Oscar-winning director Antti Minghella.
No, I wouldn't have guessed that. Years later, he turned him down, didn't he? That was what they bonded over, turning down movie directors, wasn't it? Yeah. Oh, Spielberg for you, Minghella for me, yeah.
And then he gets married to Bobby, who's met at university, and he basically settles down. He moves to Bury and becomes a double glazing salesman in the mid-70s.
So these are people who've worked real jobs.
Exactly. Well, Pete Waterman did for 2 hours. So he does it for a year and he's like, I can't do this. So he chucks it in and becomes a jobbing musician on like the circuit.
Oh, right. So he's basically going around doing the pubs and clubs.
Yeah. So they move in with Bobby, his wife's parents in Kent, and he just does the pubs and clubs.
Okay.
And then 5 years into this, his night band, they lose their guitarist, right, on the day of a gig. And he hires Matt Aitken.
Amazing.
Yeah. I should say sack the guitarist, but they lose the guitarist.
Sure, they lose it. We assume the guitarist didn't die.
Yeah.
They'd cancel the gig, presumably.
Yeah.
It's what he would have wanted.
Exactly.
Let's keep going.
So Aitken's hired because one of the band has worked with him on a cruise ship. It's really, the proper club circuit, this.
Yeah.
And Stock basically says that he got the job because he owned a suit.
I think that's it. If you're a gig, it's a bit like being a gigging comic.
Yeah.
You get a lot of gigs because you've got a car.
Yeah, exactly. So if Matt Aitken hadn't owned a suit, possibly none of this would have happened.
None of this would have happened.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Aitken was born in Coventry, like Pete Waterman, but 7 years after, and he grew up in Greater Manchester. He realises music's his thing as a kid. His parents refused to buy him a guitar. He studies classical piano, so he's a kind of pianist. And then Stock and Aitken form a band together, and it's a kind of circuit band, and they are variously called Mirage.
There must have been 1,000 bands called Mirage.
I know, and Night Work.
Ooh.
Yeah, so that kind of sums them up. They weren't making a great living.
Okay, yeah, no, we've never heard of Night Work or Mirage. So
after one Night Work gig, there was enough profits to buy one burger, apparently.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so Stock quits.
It reminds me of my days in sketch comedy.
Yeah.
Where you would do a gig and you'd get a $5.
Yeah.
And you're like, how do we divvy it
do I
up?
have to declare this?
we're not making enough for it to be taxable, so let's not worry about that.
But basically, he quit to focus on songwriting. And this is where Stock Aitken and Waterman come together. So they briefly work together in 1980 on a song called 19 for a Lady Breaker under a pseudonym.
Yeah.
Chris Britton. Pete says it's one of the worst songs he's ever produced.
It's called what? 194 Lady Breaker?
194 FOR, a Lady Breaker.
No,
Write in if you know.
It feels like the sort of thing that somebody would say over, like a convoy, or like a truck, like breaker. It feels like that.
Yeah.
19 for a Lady Breaker. Do you copy? Copy Lady Breaker on the 19. 19 for a Lady Breaker. Come on, do I have a taker? 19 for a Lady Breaker. Any Lady Breaker on the 19.
Stock and Aitken then decide together to create a female Frankie Goes to Hollywood. Frankie Goes to Hollywood.
Francesca Goes to Hollywood.
Francesca Goes to Hollywood. So they are, for anyone that doesn't know, Frankie Goes to Hollywood are kind of a very successful band. They have 3 huge number 1 singles, 2 Tribes, Relax, and Power of Love. A very out, in-your-face gay band in the mid-80s from Liverpool.
Yes.
And they play a lot on that with their videos and stuff like that. So they come up with this song called The Upstroke.
Okay.
And you're wondering, why is it called The Upstroke?
Yeah. Cricket?
No. Matt came into the studio one day. Mike commented on what a decent shave he'd had. And Matt says, it's because I did the upstroke.
Well, you shouldn't. He's talking about shaving against the grain here.
I know.
Which you're not supposed to do.
That's a bad tip, because that will give you shaving rash.
It'll give you ingrown hairs, exactly.
Exactly.
You have the bumps all over your neck. It's upstroke today, bumps all over the neck tomorrow.
Exactly.
That's the B-side.
Exactly. So they go to 3 A&R meetings with the upstroke.
Okay.
The first one's cancelled because the bloke's hungover. The second one's not interested. And the third one's Pete Waterman.
Oh, yes. I love that.
Yeah.
In that order. We're hoping it's in that order, right? Yeah.
It was in that order.
Really?
Yeah, so that Pete Waterman takes them. Their first 2 meetings are disastrous.
And
hungover, no, Pete Waterman.
Fantastic.
It gets to number 60 in the charts, but interestingly, it does very well in the gay clubs.
Right.
And this is a big thing for Stock Aitken and Waterman, because they have no budget to promote their songs, but they realise that, so they can't get it on the radio, but they realise that the gay clubs are a place which creates huge demand for records. So they focus at this stage on creating music for gay clubs.
This is still happening today. Because there's this idea of becoming gamous and then becoming famous.
Yeah,
Have you heard
exactly.
of this? It's like Chapel Roan was gamous first and then became famous.
I think then it's almost a more revolutionary act, because this is...
Oh, no, of course, yeah.
In the 80s in Britain... By the way, just as an aside, the song is played by John Peel, and that's the first person who ever plays a Stock Aitken and Waterman track.
That's amazing.
John Peel being the most alternative man on British radio. So... homosexuality in the UK in the 80s is totally different point to what it is now. You've got the AIDS epidemic, which started in 1981. Mm-hmm. Section 28 is passed in 1988. You've got this kind of incredibly homophobic messaging from the government. Section 28 is basically it's illegal for schools and councils to promote homosexuality or teach it as acceptable.
You'd love to say we've come so far since then, but it's sort of going back that way, isn't it? It's really depressing.
Yes, and Chief Constable of Manchester described gay people as swirling around in a cesspit of their own making. This is... oh, man. So for Stock Aitken and Waterman to be using the gay clubs is, even though they're considered naff and stuff, I think it's an incredibly kind of positive and revolutionary thing.
Yeah, it's incredibly progressive.
It really outbalances his Desert Island Discs faux pas.
You'll never let him forget it.
I'll never let him forget it.
Holding it over his head.
The next song is the 1984 Eurovision entry for Greece.
Okay, of course, Eurovision. And how have they managed to wangle Greece? Have any of them got a Greek
So their early work is released through a thing called Proto Records, which is a gay disco label run by Pete's flatmate, Barry Evangeli, who is a Greek Cypriot.
Right, okay.
So he gets the chance Oh, no, sorry. It's Cyprus. Sorry. He's Greek Cypriot. It's Cyprus, yeah.
Right.
So he gets the chance to produce Cyprus's Euro song entry, and Saw end up producing one of the options. Now, this is how Saw get chosen. Because this...
I love this about them. So, not xenophobic, not homophobic. They're, these are good guys.
They are good guys.
If they can make a bit of money out of it, they'll accept anyone.
They're the kindly face of capitalism.
Of capitalism, exactly, yeah.
Do you want to know how the Cypriot song is chosen? Okay.
Go on.
The competition is done in 4 stages and lasts an entire day from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. At the first stage, the submitted recordings of all 40 songs are presented twice, and each jury member chooses their 10 favourite songs, after which the votes are collected and the 10 songs with the highest number of votes progress to the second stage. The 10 songs are presented again and were then whittled down to 4 songs, and in those 4 songs, 2 are chosen. The winner was chosen out of the final 2 songs, where each jury gave 1 vote to their favourite song, and the runner-up was kept as a backup entry in the case of the winning song could not go to the Eurovision Song Contest. The last part of the competition, with the final 4 songs, is broadcast on TV and radio live.
Wow. So it is...
By the way, that is... word for word, Wikipedia.
Of course it's Wikipedia, yeah, of course. And one-stop shop for things that may or may not be true.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, there's a lot of citations there, Matthew. Thank you very much.
I'm going to accept that. So that, in many ways, was the kind of the pop idol process. 40 songs they get chosen. Yeah.
On the night of Eurovision, they get 31 points. They come 15th, which isn't great. By this time, they've gone, we should be working together. We're good, right? Divine's You Think You're a Man. Divine is a...
You don't have to tell me who Divine is.
Well, would you like to tell us who Divine is?
Divine was the movie director John Waters' muse, very famous drag queen, famous for movies like Female Trouble and Pink Flamingos.
So... Yes.
Do you want
She's best known for eating dog shit in Pink Flamingo.
That's right, yeah. To win a competition to be the filthiest person alive, she ate a dog turd, yeah.
Yeah, and that means that when her single is released by Stock Aitken and Waterman, You Think You're a Man, I've still got a review of that on my wall at home, says Waterman. It says, for a man who started his career eating dog shit, this record is a step in the right direction. And Pete Waterman says, I thought, we've made it. This is it. We've arrived.
I love it.
Love it.
I mean, already, what a storied career.
I know,
You're working with Tracy Chapman and you're working with Divine. This is, this is
incredible.
It's so varied.
Later that year, he scores a top 10 hit with Hazel Dean's Whatever I Do, Wherever I Go, which reached number 4. They are cooking on gas. This track has been repurposed for a version written for Michael Prince, who's an unknown American, and they wrote it for him. Then they repurpose it, and then he calls to complain to them.
Oh, no.
At which point he reveals to Mike, Mike says, where are you? And he says he's in a hospital bed after fooling around with a jar of pickles. Which I would say is the 2 hours in a grave as a grave digger in terms of what's gone on there.
Even more, I'm in a hospital room after fooling around with a jar of pickles.
Fooling, not falling as well.
Yes, fooling around. Yeah. Oh, no.
I think we just leave that.
I think we leave it.
I think we leave it for the listener. There's tensions early on.
Can I take 5 seconds? Would that be all right if I just want to... Maybe I don't need to say anything, but I just need to process.
Yeah, okay.
I think we just... Okay. I think I've... Yeah.
Okay.
I think I've worked that out of my system, which is more than can be said for Michael Prince.
Yeah. So, by this point, there's something going on here.
We're still talking about Michael Prince.
Stock Aitken and Waterman are like, okay, we should continue this triumvirate, yeah?
Yeah.
Pete says, I'll be the producer and you two can be the directors. And they go, we're vetoing that. That's not the names of us.
Because I guess there's a musical director, but when you think of pop music, you think of producers, don't you?
So in order to have Waterman, they want Waterman because they think he's good. So that in order to have them solely working with them, Stock suggests that him and Aitken will write the songs, Pete promotes and sells them, and they decide to split everything 3 ways.
Ah, okay. So he's the promo guy. He's the A&R man, really.
And that's why we know him, because they're the kind of faceless songwriters and he's the promo man. But you think in your head, oh, he's written all this stuff.
Yeah.
He's more of a Simon Cowell.
Right. Okay. So he's an ideas guy.
Yeah.
And he's a salesman.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah. And again, yeah, you're absolutely right. He was the one who had his own telly show and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, which again, we'll come to that, I'm sure.
We'll come to that, yeah. So they then come to work with a man called Pete Burns, who I'd say is almost the most interesting Pete we talk about, more interesting than Pete Waterman.
Pete Burns, R.I.P.
Rest in Pete.
But yeah, of course, Pete Burns, who was already, before joining Dead or Alive, was already like a local legend for being such a grumpy salesperson in the record shop.
Got it.
Yeah.
So he's from this mad background. His mum's an alcoholic. She attempts suicide several times when he's growing up. He says, as far as parental skills go, in the conventional normal world, she certainly wasn't a mother, but she was the best human being. She called me Star Baby, and she knew there was something special in me. And he goes on to become, he does the door or the coat room at Eric's, where lots of exciting Liverpool music's going on.
Yeah, Eric's is, I mean, there's a whole episode to be done on Eric's.
There will be, yeah.
It's an absolute a sort of fulcrum of Liverpool, the Liverpool music scene, isn't it?
Yeah. And then he gets a job in a record shop in Liverpool, dropping out of school at 14 because he's summoned to the headmaster's office with no eyebrows, harmony red hair, and one gigantic earring.
I love it.
Yeah. They sign him because there's, and this is the word of the time, there's a kind of craze for gender bender acts based on Boy George.
Sure.
Not the right terminology now, but that was the terminology at the time.
And I would imagine a terminology that Boy George probably would have used themselves.
Yes.
But yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah.
He's kind of, how would you describe Pete Burns? He's kind of...
That era, Pete Burns had absolutely wild sort of Doctor and the Medic hair, tousled out to, a sort of feet beyond him, wore an eye patch, makeup, very kind of like David Bowie Ashes to Ashes video.
Yeah.
Quite a sort of androgynous
look.
Yeah.
He worked in a record store in Liverpool called Probe, and he's known basically for slagging off customers.
Yeah, you try and buy a record and he'd tell you how it was a load of old dog shit.
So there's someone who said he bollocked me for buying a Clash single. Someone said he would stare right into your soul, pout, and then either serve you or tell you to do one.
Great. Fantastic.
And so he forms a band called Dead or Alive, right? And at this point, Stock Aitken and Waterman are in real financial trouble, right? To give you an idea of their financial trouble, if they're meeting someone important, what they will do is they'll get to the pub early, buy 1 pint, split it between the three of them.
It's like the burger all over again.
Yeah, exactly. And then they'll just, when the person comes in, finish their pints so that then the other person buys them a round.
Smart.
Because they can't afford to buy a full round. When Pete Burns meets Pete Waterman, he presumes that Pete Waterman is gay. Pete Waterman says, admittedly, I did have green and red hair, a red leather suit with a yellow stripe, so it might have been an easy mistake to make.
He was flamboyant.
He was flamboyant.
Yeah.
It's released in November 1984, the song You Spin Me Round, which is the big song for Stock Aitken and Waterman, but not yet. Goes in at number 41, and then it flounders for 13 weeks. Why did it get to number 1? It was a remix called the TDF mix, which stands for Two Dogs Fucking.
Okay. The Two Dogs Fucking remix.
The Two Dogs
They were
Fucking.
out in the alleyway. They saw Two Dogs Fucking, said, come in a second. Do you mind remixing this song?
Not a million miles.
Okay,
right?
go on.
Pete is like, what are we going to do? This should be a hit. It's not a hit.
Yeah.
And then he gets a BBC sound effects CD that anyone could buy, right? And it's got like, he says, bomb explosions, moving bridges. And one of the things is two dogs having sex.
Okay.
And so...
Why has somebody recorded that for the...
I know.
For a soundtrack?
You might need it for the Archers. You might need it for the Archers. So basically, he uses this sound, puts it all over the record, calls it the Two Dogs Fucking remix.
The TDF remix.
The TDF remix.
For the radio.
And it goes to number 1.
That's amazing.
Isn't that
so
mad?
So it turns out he knew exactly what the people wanted. What the people want is a little bit of sex.
A little bit of sex.
Doesn't necessarily have to... It could be two Rottweilers. It doesn't have to be a man and a woman. It doesn't have to be a man and a man.
Exactly. It could be a Bully XL.
It could be a Bully XL.
So that could all too easily have been, you know, the Seagull remix, or
exactly,
or the Big Ben
Man
Chimes
walking
remix.
on gravel.
Walking, exactly. Yeah.
But he chooses Two Dogs Fucking, and Stock Aitken and Waterman get their first number one, and this is the beginning of huge success. They build the hit factory, which we will learn about in the next episode, and basically become the ultimate example of Thatcher's Britain, and that is in the next episode.
I can't wait.
Coming up on the next episode of Museum of Pop Culture. And this was the first song that was a hit for them that they'd written, because obviously Dead and Alive was a song that was brought to them. They just shoved some dogs fucking on it.
How many times do you think they tried that on other songs?
I don't know.
Listen, we've got this song, we can't make it work. We're here, you're the guy who's got a record of Two Dogs Fucking. Work your magic.
I can't give you a writing credit for that. I'm sorry.
If anything, that should go to Fido.
If you'd like to get in touch with the show, and we'd love you to get in touch, because that's the best bit of doing a podcast, is actually hearing from the audience. If you've got, something we've got wrong, we've tried our best, don't sue us, just correct us. If you've got any questions, any ideas for subjects, you can email us at museumofpopculturepod@gmail.com. And you can follow us on Instagram at Museum of Pop Culture Pod.